Okay, this is not a video that I expected to make. It's not a video I wanted to make. As you can see, I am traveling right now for work, so this is pretty much just off the cuff. But I think it's an important discussion to have for the industry as a whole, especially considering that traders are struggling right now. So if you haven't heard, I woke up to the news that the funded trader has temporarily suspended their operations. I have seen online that they look to be back or are expected to be back on April 18th. But this is huge news for traders, whether you have purchased an evaluation with them, taking one, worked with them in the past, or have never taken anything with them. This is huge news considering that they have said they have paid out over $100 million to traders. And in terms of website traffic, they are consistently in the top 3. They were a huge firm. And so, as expected, traders all throughout social media are talking about this. And I think it's a very important discussion to have because late last year we had the MyForex Fund situation, now this, and so understandably so, traders are worried, they don't know who to trust, and they don't know where the industry is headed. So I'd like to give you a quick breakdown of my thoughts, what this means for the industry, and what we're doing at Lark moving forward. So first off, if you had told me 6 months ago that in 6 months the funded trader would be ceasing operations, I wouldn't believe you, and I don't think anybody would believe you. Things were looking good. They were absolutely massive, growing, but of course things change. If you had told me a month ago that this was going to happen, I would have had a much different response. You see, on social media, a lot of payout denials were circulating, a lot of negative Trustpilot reviews. Before we move forward in this video, I want to make it clear, my position is the same as it's always been. I don't know how other firms operate. It's none of my business. I don't want to speak ill on other firms, but the reality is when such a big event happens, I think it's important to be transparent, forthcoming, and for what it's worth, share your thoughts on it. All that to say, in one of the funded traders' recent community updates, they said that they publicly said that they denied roughly $2 million in payouts, combining the denied payouts from January and February. The numbers here specifically in January, they said that they rejected 1.375 million and 772,000 in February. And so they said that that was due to fraud, failed KYC, and again, a stance here is always the same. If there is a legitimate reason for denying a payout, then yes, the payout should be denied. If it's fraud, if it's failed KYC, if it's a legitimate breach of rules, then of course the payout should be denied. But the murky zone is when firms have hidden rules and then they deny payouts just for the sake of denying them. And so that's kind of the context. That's how we kind of get to where we are today. Things as of the start of the year weren't looking great. And I think a lot of firms are struggling to start off 2024. There's been so much going on, specifically with MetaQuote cutting off a lot of brokers. That meant that MT4 and MT5 could no longer be offered by a whole bunch of firms, forced a migration to new platforms. A lot of firms have experienced a ton of refund requests. There's just been so much going on that built up to this moment. Personally, I was still quite surprised to hear the news that they are ceasing operations, but really their announcement, which we'll do our best to put up somewhere here, it really leaves more questions unanswered than answered. You see, the founder of the funded trader owns several firms such as Skilled Funded Traders. There's a whole host of firms that they own, and so there's a big question up in the air as to what's going to happen with those firms because a lot of those firms were run or marketed by influencers. And so it's also just, there's so much in the air right now, and there's so many traders, thousands and thousands and thousands of traders that are impacted by this, and so it's just overall, it really hurts the industry. We're currently working on building the largest email newsletter for traders that want to get funded. You can subscribe below. It's called Lark Digest. We have over 19,000 traders in it right now. This morning, we quickly put an email out, announcing the news, and we posed a few questions that I think are important for traders to think about moving forward. First off, they said they're going to be relaunching. They haven't said that they're permanently leaving, so the question is, what does that relaunch look like? When is that going to come? And really, in terms of trust, it's going to be a Herculean task to gain back that trust. Secondly, in the announcement, at least the initial announcement, there was no information on refunds. So rightfully so, traders want to know if refunds will be provided. That's something that's still to be seen. And as we mentioned, we don't know what's going on with the other firms. But again, we can't speak on the funded trader. We have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. And so really the main idea behind this video is to talk about what does this mean for the industry. You see, we had the MyForex Fund situation, but that was really a regulatory situation. This is the first time that we've seen an absolutely massive firm struggle to this extent that seemingly from an outsider's perspective looks to be from the result of management or poor management. You see, this is unfortunate. It's the most unfortunate for traders that are impacted, but it's unfortunate for the industry as a whole. I think Forex and evaluation firms have a bad rap, have a bad reputation, specifically for these reasons, because traders are not receiving their payouts, because things like this happen, because influencers get behind firms and then disappear, or they don't actually know what's going on. They're not actually operating it. They're not forthcoming. I had an opportunity when I first started my own YouTube channel back in 2020 or 2021 to start a firm with Angelo, and I didn't proceed with that. This was before Lark Funding existed. I didn't go down that route, and I wanted full control of the company for these specific reasons. And those reasons in detail are because sustainable rules is where the industry needs to go. By starting Lark Funding on my own, I was able to ensure that rules would be sustainable. And I think this is really the main takeaway of this video. What does this mean for the industry? What's going to happen moving forward? And I think there's a couple of things. One, there needs to be a change in rules. Things need to be more sustainable. Listen, Lark Funding is not the cheapest challenge. It is not the easiest challenge. And yes, we have some rules that are more restrictive, but in almost 2 years of operating, we have never denied a payout. Now, it's not always going to be like that, but we have 0 hidden rules. So when a clear rule is breached, the account is breached and there is no payout because it's a clear violation of rules. But when there is a legitimate payout and nobody has breached any rules, then that trader, whether it's with Lark Funding or any company, they need to know that they're going to be paid out. And so one, I think we need a move towards sustainable rules. No 200-to-1 leverage, no 10% max drawdown and a 5% target. Don't go for the cheapest challenges. These 50%, 70%, 90% discount codes, they're not sustainable long term. There is a reason that the firms that have been around the longest don't run promos very often, and they are not the cheapest. And so I think a move to sustainability is very, very important. In terms of sustainability, it's a balancing act between firms and traders. Firms obviously want to provide things that traders think are fantastic. That's low prices, easy challenges, but again, it's not sustainable. And so there needs to be that balancing act between a firm not going for those short-term gains and traders willing to take a slightly more difficult or restrictive challenge that isn't as cheap. And unfortunately, as we're seeing, this no longer is an option. This is mandatory. This is what needs to happen in order for traders to ensure that their payouts will be provided and for firms to be able to provide those payouts. All that to say, this is a bit of a more than a bit. This is a very raw video. Again, I think that competition is fantastic. Yes, the funded trader is a competitor to us. However, I wish no ill will on them whatsoever. Every firm in this industry provides an opportunity for us to get better. And unfortunately, the way these things work is it's traders that are the most impacted, and coming from a trading background, that's really unfortunate. I remember when I was trying to get funded, paying for a $500 challenge, a $700 challenge, it was a ton of money. It still is a ton of money. And so my heart really does go out to traders that are impacted by this. I hope everything gets sorted out quickly for both the company, all companies involved, and traders especially, because they deserve better. The industry deserves better. I hope moving forward there's an increased importance and reliance put on transparency and that sustainability. I think that main takeaway is sustainability. Please subscribe to Lark Digest down below. We send out emails every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We talk about everything that's going on in the industry and the best way to help you get funded. If you have any questions, drop them down below. I'll do my best to get through all of them. Again, we pride ourselves on transparency. We have, I believe, the lowest payout denial rate in the industry. So if we can help somehow, I would be more than happy to do that. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. Hang in there, stay safe. See you in the next one. Until then, peace.